is 856. 856. Bharati Nadarajun. No, not that one. 856.
No, Doc.
Don't know who Bharati is. She didn't submit her test. 856 is not. Muhammad Ismail Adnan?
No.
You don't know who that is, eh? Dwi Perdebatan. Okay, never mind. Okay. All right. So have a look at your results. I think the highest is 35. Who is this? I don't know who that person is because I don't like the name.
Doctor, I downloaded the Excel file and I find that it's a blank Excel file
Yeah.
with no grades.
No marks.
Empty.
Empty.
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah.
It's empty.
Jamil. Mana boleh empty? Let me try again.
The line list is there. It's just the grading is empty.
Grading is empty.
The metric numbers are there.
Okay, that's very interesting. Let me check again. Test results 2024. It is setting. I will delete that the file and I will upload again. It confirm. Okay. Upload this file. Okay, you want to check again? Let me know if it works this time.
Yep. Visible now.
Okay. Do you know who Cheryl Chong Chi Tian? This person is not here.
Sorry, doctor, my metric number is not there. Does that means that I failed the subject or anything?
What's your metric number?
2166487.
What's the last four number is 41?
487.
4187.
But then I saw another one is 2006.
Good evening,
Mine is
doctor. Even my matrix number is not there.
What's your metric
Yeah.
number?
The last four digits is 5311.
Did you submit on Spectrum or not?
Yes, Spectrum and email. It's S21253331.
Kejap, let me check. Can you say that again, your metric number?
S21253331.
S212
5331.
331. S212 5331. Okay, who's the other one?
Yeah, mine is 2166487.
S, yeah.
Yeah, S2166487.
2166
487.
487. 2166 487. How come? But on Spectrum, yeah, there's no record of your submission.
But then
Yeah, there's no
I
record of
think
your submission. 487. Your email, email by right, because I didn't check email because S22 166487. S22
S2166487.
Kejap, ya.
Yeah, I saw some matrix numbers very similar to mine, but 200. I mean, the last 4 digits is the same, but 2006.
Oh, 2006.
Yeah, I don't know that one is another
job,
person or just the same, because 5311 also another one, also 5311 just now another person mentioned. I saw 2015311.
Kejap, ya, kejap. 6.
Okay.
You see, your the file name is also not standardized. I already mentioned. I already give you the format, but not many people follow the format. LUU Jabatan 2. Yeah, 2 once. Okay. Yeah, actually that's your mark. That's your mark. I think Maya, there's a problem with Maya because I took the metric numbers from Maya. But then I received your the submission. There is submission. So that's your mark. Okay. So I will check
Okay,
with the
thank you,
officer tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
And another person is 5331, right?
Yes,
5331.
doctor.
Yeah, that's your mark. 2121212125. Kejap, man. 53. Mana 5331? Oh, 5331 is not here.
I think 5311.
5311.
I'm here.
513.
2015-311.
That's yours.
Yes. Yeah.
51015-311, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. 5331 tak ada.
Mine is S2125331.
5331.
And it's not there.
It's not there.
But I've checked my email and I did email you, doctor.
Did you submit on Spectrum?
Yes, both platforms I did, email and Spectrum.
2125-331. 2125.
Yes, doctor.
331. Ayo, why is this happening? 5331. I never had this problem before. Okay, I have your mark with me. I have marked your paper, but I do not include here because here there is no metric number. Your metric number is not here. I have to check with the officer again why the Maya system is like this, because I think your this is a sequence of your registration in Maya system.
Oh, okay.
You have submitted. I have your paper. I have marked already. I have your mark now. I can tell you later if you want. Tapi you can message me also. I can give you the mark. Tapi I have to check with the officer office tomorrow. Why your match number is not in the on the Maya system? Okay.
Okay, doctor. How do I contact you, doctor?
You can message me.
On Teams?
On WhatsApp. I mean, do you have my WhatsApp number?
No, I don't have.
Don't have. Okay. 013 289.
Wait, doctor. 013
289 5569.
Okay. Thank you so much, doctor.
Welcome. Okay. Is there anyone else got problem with the number? If don't have, it's okay. We can. I mean, we still have time to do amendment. Okay. I mean, to check your results. There's no problem. I can do that. Okay. Now let's look at the question here. Are you all happy with your marks?
Thanks, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Okay,
Thank you.
Doc. Thank you.
Okay lah. Why okay lah?
Thank you.
Expected more lah, Doc. Tapi
You
okay lah.
expected more.
Yeah, but okay lah.
Excuse me, Doc. Can I confirm
Yes.
your number? It's 013 289 556.
5569.
Okay. Thank you, doctor.
Welcome. Excuse me. Okay, let me share my screen. How do we go about this? So what I'm going to do, I will use the highest. So I have my own scheme, but then I think I will look at the standard of your answers. Okay, do you have a question with you? Do you have the questions paper with you? Or shall I share I share my screen already, right?
Yes, Doc. You're sharing your screen.
Okay. Okay. All right. Is that it? 533. Five, 2, 3, 1. Okay. For those who get 20 plus, okay, 20 plus, meaning average every question, there's 2 questions, right? One each question 20 marks. So if you get 20 plus, meaning your marks are usually for each question is around 10, 11, 12, like that, blah, 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 not more than 50 for each question, okay? The reason being, I cannot give you more than that because you have the principles, okay? You mentioned the principles, but you don't really apply in the scenario. You have to apply in the scenario. Okay? How do you apply the principles in the scenario? Most people just talk about the principles and elaborate about the principles. For example, you talk about consent, principle of autonomy. Just talk about autonomy, okay? And then what is autonomy? Why autonomy is important? And then you talk about consent to treatment. In this case, in the first case, you talk about HIV, right? This one, I thought is a very easy question. I purposely chose this question because I want you guys to get really good marks, but not many people get more than 15. Just a few people get more than 15 for this question. Okay, but right, this is the easiest question because we have discussed this in the class, but in the different scenario. Okay, but the even though there's different scenario, tapi if you look at the questions properly, the discussion should be similar. Okay, the law should be similar, especially the law. I don't know whether those who cannot answer, who do not know about the Infectious Diseases Act, whether they actually attended the class or they did not attend the class, or maybe they did not subscribe for the additional class, lectures. But if you attend the class, but you still do not know that we have Infectious Diseases Act, then it's very unfortunate, but right, you should know, okay? Because there are a few students who do not know, who says that there's no law. They talk about the exceptions that medical doctors can reveal the medical doctor can reveal can breach the duty of confidence if there is a law. All right, but it never mentioned about what the law is. And then at the end, the student summarized saying that since there is no law, then the doctor cannot reveal breach the duty of confidence. So that is actually very unfortunate. Okay, because it's such a very it's a very easy question by right. Okay, but never mind. We can go to one by one. So it's in general, if you get around 20 plus, okay, you don't apply you talk a lot about the principles, but you don't apply in the scenario. Okay, our consent just now, I was saying just now, most of you talk about consent and consent to treatment. You don't apply, but consent to disclose information. Okay, consent to disclose confidential information. You should apply. All right. Okay. So first question, Mark. Let's look at the English version. Okay. Mark is tested for HIV and the test comes back positive. Dr. Zay informs Mark that he needs to report this case to the authority. Mark is very upset and claims that it is unethical for Dr. Zay to do so. Critically discuss the completely ethical principles in this scenario, and in your answer, decide which ethical principles should be promoted. So, the first paragraph gives you the scenario. What is the scenario? Okay, who involves and what happened, right? In this case, it's similar to the scenario that we discussed in the class, where Jamie. I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Okay, in the class we discussed about Jamie scenario involving Jamie, and some students I'm sure they refer to the lecture note and they copy paste and then they accidentally wrote Jamie in the answer. It's very I don't know whether it was a copy paste, but I did not check because I just want to give you the benefit of doubt. It's in test. Okay, if I'm too strict about it, then you won't get marked for that. But please don't do that. Okay. But anyway, in your exam nanti, even though it's an open book, please do not copy paste word by word. All right. So as we have discussed in the class about Jamie, whether the doctor should, is it Dr. Chin? Dr. Chin can, reveal Jamie's condition to the wife, to the spouse, right? In this case, I just changed a little bit only. I just changed to the authority, just to the authority. It's as simple as that. So what you should do, and then by right, you should know already the answer. Okay? What should be the answer? Can anyone respond to that? in general, in conclusion, what should be the answer? If you read the scenario, if you read the lecture note, okay, especially if you attended the classes, what do you think should be the answer? When Dr. Zain informed the authority?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor, because this one involves the public. So
Yeah,
it's,
not just the public, but the law is there.
The law
right?
is-
We have a law.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by right, you should know already. That is the answer. Okay, so you must end the question with that answer. All right. Tapi you don't straight away mention that Dr. Zain can disclose or report the case to the authority. Even though you know the answer, you cannot straight away cannot straight away mention that because the question, there's a second part which requires you to discuss, right? Critically discuss the competing ethical principles, all right? So you should start with the ethical principles first. What are the principles? All right, some people, they explain the entire principle, autonomy, beneficence, apa-apa sampailah other principles, ethics, communitarian, and so on. Okay, you can do that, but it's only 20 marks. Okay, if I were you, I would just focus on the competing ethical principles. So choose which are the principles that you think are relevant. Okay, in this case, of course, it's in this case, what principles you think are competing? Those who get really good marks.
autonomy,
Yeah. Autonomy. Lagi
um,
apa?
beneficence,
Beneficence. Yeah.
Non-maleficence.
Yeah. Because beneficence can go together with non-maleficence, right? All right. So you can So you talk about this. Okay, what is autonomy, and then how autonomy can be applied in this situation. Okay. So autonomy can be applied. We talk about the concept. Autonomy is Marx autonomous decision autonomous power, okay, to decide what to disclose and what not to disclose, okay, and apa nama? And in this case, it's a very confidential information. So Mark should have the right to decide. Okay, you can start with that. You can start with a very firm position or analysis in terms of the ethical principles of autonomy, right? And then after that, you mentioned also the confidential information. Okay, every patient has the right to have their confidential information protected from being disclosed to another person. All right, only with their consent, the information can be disclosed. Okay, and as a doctor, Dr. Zain has the duty to protect the confidential information of Mark's confidential information. Okay, and then this is and then this is conflicting with other principles, which is principle of beneficence, right? Because at the same time, Dr. Zain needs to have the duty to in this case doesn't mention whether Mark refused to refuse. Right? It doesn't mention refuse. It just say that Mark is upset. Okay, Mark is upset that Dr. Zain needs to report this case to the authority. But it doesn't say that Mark is refused. Okay, so you must remember that. So you somewhere in your answer, you need to also recognize that. Okay, if Mark refused, what can be done? Okay, if Mark is upset, what can be done? In this case, it's mentioned Mark is upset. So just mention Dr. Zain has the duty, okay, or can play his role in explaining to Mark why he needs to report the case to the authority. Okay, and what kind of information that he should he will include in the report. All right, and how he should make the report to the authority. So this is open book, right? So you should be able to find out more. You have the freedom to find out. Okay, to Google ke apa ke, look at the law, look at the guidelines, relevant law, and you can include that in your discussion. Okay, not many people talk about that, discuss about that, the role that Dr. Zain can do, even though he has the authority. Okay, he has the duty to inform to the authority, but he has to do it in an appropriate way. That's where principle of non-maleficence come into the picture. Okay, Dr. Mark needs to protect Dr. Mark needs to Dr. Zain needs to fulfill the duty of principle of beneficence, okay, in order to protect, okay, the interest of the public. That one is conflicting with the autonomy, right? Mark's autonomy. Autonomy versus beneficence. Beneficence refers to the best interest of the public. Okay, but at the same time, even though Dr. Zain can breach the duty of confidentiality or not go against the, you don't have to. Doesn't mean when the doctor breached the duty of confidentiality, the doctor is going against the principle of autonomy. Okay. It is that in this situation, both are important. It's just that principle of beneficence will prevail over the principle of autonomy. Okay, even though Dr. Zain needs to report the case, doesn't mean that Mark's autonomy is being thumbed over by the principle. It's just that the duty of beneficence need to prevail. Okay, need to be further promoted because of the greater interest. Okay, and some of you also talk about deontology and also consequentialism. All right, so you can include that as well. Okay, that will be that is good, especially when you talk about the greater good. Okay, you can mention this is in line with consequentialism theory. Okay, ataupun utilitarianism punya concept. Okay. And then, but in doing so, Dr. Zain needs to also make sure that he respect the principle of non-maleficence. Okay, how do you apply non-maleficence in this situation? Okay, non-maleficence requires doctor not to do harm or cause harm to his or her patient. Okay, in this situation, maybe not physical harm to Mark, but in terms of emotional, psychological harm. Okay. So that's how you apply non-maleficence. Okay. So essentially, that is the answer. And you also can mention about in terms of the duty of confidentiality. Duty of confidentiality can be breached. Okay, legally, Dr. Zain can breach his duty of confidentiality for a few reasons. There are a few exceptions are given, okay, already set by the law. So you can mention that. Okay. You can mention that. What are the the exceptions? Okay. So and one of those is authorized by law or required by law. Okay. So in this case, you can mention Infectious Diseases Act that requires doctor to report to the authority, and it's not for the public to know. It's only for the authority to manage public health. And you can also mention about COVID-19. Okay, because the question is critically discussed, meaning you must be critical in your answer. So how do you make it critical? By incorporating all this information lah. Okay. COVID-19, what happened? People have to report. Okay, there is monitoring, there is an app to monitor. Okay, people report. The doctor report to the authority. Even patients also have to report to the authority because, according to the law, patients also have the duty. If not, patient can be fined. Okay, can be sanctioned by the law. So, yeah, that is the answer for question number 1. I think the highest mark that someone get is 17 out of 20. Okay. Right. Okay, some people also mentioned justice. I think a lot of people mentioned justice. Okay. Justice can also be used here. One of the students here mentioned that justice in the context of medical ethics refers to the obligation to treat all patients fairly, distribute healthcare resources equitably, and respect legal requirements while balancing individual rights and public health interests. The principle of justice requires that medical practitioners balance the rights of the individual with the welfare of the broader community. Okay? Reporting infectious diseases like HIV/AIDS to health authorities is mandated in many jurisdictions as part of public health law. That's a very good answer. These laws are grounded in the principle of justice. They aim to protect public health by monitoring the spread of the disease, facilitating contact tracing, and providing access to treatment and support services. Yeah. So see how the student apply the principle of justice in terms of supporting the action required by medical doctors to report, infectious diseases to authorities to ensure that to protect public health interests, by monitoring the spread of disease and by facilitating contact tracing and providing access to treatment or support services. Okay, so in this case, maybe Mark doesn't know about all this, and you can mention this is the duty of Dr. Zain, also the doctor, to advise Mark that all this are required for his benefit as well. Okay, so in this case, there is no way Dr. Zain can respect Mark, not to say respect, not to say not to respect, but to give in to Mark's decision. Okay. But Zain can still respect Mark's autonomy, by mentioning that he will only, Dr. Zain should only disclose the necessary information to the authority, so that he knows that his autonomy is not completely trumped over by the decision to disclose the confidential information. All right. And then, but some student who mentioned justice. Okay, what was this class? It was not applied. There's no application of justice in the scenario. Mention about justice. I think it's not pasal apa. I remember. It's on tabs. I remember just now, but now I can't. Talk about justice.
Doc, I have a question. Doc?
Yes.
What about the principle of dignity encountered with the principles of communitarian ethics?
Okay. All right. Principle of dignity. You can mention principle of dignity here. Okay. The thing is, there is no right or wrong answer in terms of which principles you can use. Okay. But of course, the obvious principles here are autonomy and beneficence right? If you want to talk about dignity, you can, but I don't think that's the primary. That is a primary principle. You can add it. You can use it as additional argument, all right? Especially if you can talk about this dignity can be used in different ways. First is to support autonomy. Okay, so those who mentioned that some students actually argue that Dr. Zain cannot disclose the information, So, so you can use dignity to argue, but still, until the answer is wrong, because you obviously the law says they should disclose information. one way of doing it, probably you can mention that, especially beneficence, okay? Hold on, non-maleficence. Maybe you can use dignity to support non-maleficence. If you want to, if you want to follow the correct answer lah, which is to disclose the information, right? So you can mention that when Dr. Zain disclose the information to the authority, Dr. Zain needs to make sure that only the required information to be disclosed in order to respect Mark as a person with inherent right to dignity. Okay, to make sure that necessary steps are taken to ensure that there will be no accidental disclosure of his status, okay, to his to non-authorized person.
Because I used the principle of dignity and countered it with principle of communitarian ethics. That means we give more preference to communitarian ethics.
You can do that. But I think it's not. I don't think you. In this situation, we can undermine dignity. Dignity can still be respected, even though the disclosure there is a disclosure. Okay, because the disclosure is only to authority. All right, only to the authority and only the necessary information given to the authority.
Okay.
So I don't think in this case dignity is being violated.
So we just stick to the main principles and ethics. We can. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but if I were you, I would use dignity to support principle of non-maleficence.
Yes, I did that. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. You can also apply. You can also mention dignity when you discuss about the principle of autonomy and also the duty of confidentiality. Okay, why is this important? Because of one's dignity. Because especially in a situation involving such a stigmatized health condition, right? So that's why it's very important to respect patient's autonomy, okay, because of the dignity, right, as a human person. Well, if this is not given due regards by medical doctors, by medical practitioners, then the patient will lose his or her dignity, or in this case, Mark will lose his dignity. Okay, because he might be subject to stigmatization, discrimination, so on. Okay, so to avoid that, even though Dr. Zain needs by legally required has a duty to disclose information, Dr. Zain really needs to make sure that it is done properly. You see how I play with the principles. The idea is because in this case it's quite straightforward, right? You know that the answer is there must be a disclosure. So how do we do it properly? Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? Any questions? Please take this opportunity to ask me. Okay. I'm sorry for the suddenly I woke up. Not this morning, just this afternoon. Deeper, I feel I have sinusitis.
Feeling better today, Doc, compared to yesterday?
Yeah, I had a good sleep. I think yesterday, was it yesterday? I can't remember. In my mind. Yeah, yesterday.
We had a class yesterday, right?
Yeah, I class yesterday. Yeah, I think after the class, I went to bed very early.
Okay, that's good.
No, I had a nap, I think, before after the class. Yeah. So yeah, but today I have another problem pula. Yes, Casey, are you okay with the answer?
Yep.
Usually it helps if you have to take something soupy with chili padi. It helps me because it breaks the clot at our forehead there, because it's ear, nose, throat, right? So it actually helps.
see.
Got the remedy from some Burmese people.
Oh, okay.
It worked for me after that ever since.
You sweat and then you have
Yeah, and all your sinus,
Mm.
everything gets cleared off.
finance. Yeah, that's right.
If not,
Yeah.
then take wasabi.
Exactly, I was thinking about that just now. I wanted to mention
Wasabi
wasabi.
works for me.
I know, right? Okay. I don't have wasabi with me today. Maybe I just go and get kacang. There's a kacang that covered with wasabi.
That one cannot lah. You have to eat like
Cannot,
the straight up wasabi.
mild.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, any other questions on this, on the first question?
Okay, what about the case law? Do we need to quote some case law?
Oh, yeah. Case law as well. Thank you for pointing that out. Let me check something. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Case law. Yes, you can use case law. But in this case, it's not really necessary. But if you use case law, that's fine. Okay. Because if I want you to use case law, I will ask you to refer to decided cases. Okay. But if you use case law, make sure that the case law is oh God. But the case law is relevant or suitable. Some students, they use case law and it's not relevant at all. Okay? It's not relevant at all. Some students, they use medical negligence, case law involving medical negligence. What is that about? I don't understand. So I don't deduct marks for that, but I just don't give any mark for that. There's no additional mark. I just ignore it. Okay? Yeah. But in this case, in this answer, you don't need to have a case law, right? The concept is about competing ethical principles. Okay? And decide which ethical principle should be promoted.
We don't have any particular case law, right, for ethical principles?
I mean,
Not that
you
I can recall.
you can talk about like consent, why consent is very important, right? If you want to talk about daughter has to respect confidentiality, okay, confidential, not disclosed. You can think about case law. You can because it was an open book, and some students they include some case law that I have not taught in the class, and not included in the class. And I thought, what case law is this? And I try to find the case law, and I read the case summary. It just is not suitable for the question. Okay, for example, in this case, the student who get the highest mark, he or she doesn't use case law, but still can get highest mark. Okay, but you can bring in declaration, medical guidelines, code ethics. That one you can. Okay, the regulatory document, you can include. The law, you can include. But no need for case law. Okay, but if you want to use case law, make sure that it's relevant. Okay, some people, as I mentioned just now, talk about Fufiona lah, Zuhasnima lah, and some English cases, but it doesn't make any sense. Okay, doesn't help with the and I can really tell that these students, they really don't have the flow. Maybe because it's open book, they just look at the notes, just masuk look at the notes, tambah, look at the note, tambah, you know. So you can see the flow is not there. The argument, the flow of the argument isn't there. It's not clear at all. It's just like very random. The answers are very random. Okay. Okay. Don't worry. I mean, if you get good marks, I'm sure you're happy. If you don't get, if your marks is around 20 plus, okay, even lesser than that. I mean, in general, when I for apa nama? What I'm trying to say is that your test mark. Sometimes what I would do when I look at your exam, if your exam is really really bad, okay, then I will look at your apa nama, your test, and I will go through again your test and see where I can be more lenient and add more marks. Okay, maybe to help students. If you contoh, if you have a border, you have your marks is borderline A or borderline pass. So I will look at your test again and go through your answer and see whether I can help. Okay, can be more lenient. But to be honest with you, I'm already lenient in my marking for your test. Okay, but there is a chance that I will look at it again to help you with your exam. All right. Okay. No other questions? Kalau tak ada, let's go. Let's continue with question number 2. Okay. Aman is admitted to the hospital. This is also very, not to say very easy, but it's an easy question. Okay, because we have a lot of case law that we have discussed this. Okay, we have case law that we have discussed. Similar, very similar. It's just that, but this question is quite tricky in the sense where, in terms of the age, I do not mention whether Aman is is of majority age or a minor. Okay, so some students, okay, for those who get really good marks, because they really tease out the possibilities whether Aman has a capacity or Aman doesn't have a capacity. Okay, but some students who don't get good marks, especially who don't get good marks, so the students straight away assume that Aman doesn't have the capacity. Okay, and therefore Dr. Chua doesn't have to follow Aman's decision. If you answer that way, definitely your mark is not good. Okay. I have mentioned in the class that you need to, if the facts are not clear, you need to tease out. Okay, you need to not to tease out, but to argue from different possibilities. Okay, whether especially in this scenario, whether Aman has capacity, what will happen? What Dr. Chua needs to do? What is the moral and legal obligation? If Aman has the capacity, okay, what is Dr. Chua's obligation, his duty as a medical doctor? Okay. All right. So in this case, the patient has open wound on his leg and has a history of septic. Okay. Again, the question doesn't mention that Aman is in danger. The question only mentioned Aman has a history of septic, which means that it can be a fatal, it can be a risky situation that he's in, because if he has a history of septic, he has a chance to be in that situation again. Okay, and especially given the history, there's a chance for something to take place, and then Aman life will be at risk. Okay, and then Dr. Chua feels that Aiman's condition requires a leg amputation. Okay, so it does not really suggest that this is a very critical situation, right? It doesn't suggest that this is an emergency situation. Dr. Chua only feels that Aiman's condition requires a leg amputation, and he explained to Aiman of the risks and potential benefits to him. Okay, so if you read the question properly, it does not suggest that this is an emergency situation. Some students, they straight away assume that this is emergency situation, and therefore defense of necessity can be applied. And straight away kata Dr. Chua has to amputate students, the student Aman's leg, and that is wrong. Okay, so you really need to be careful when you read the scenario. Okay, and then he mentioned Aman is a young and bright man and able to demonstrate that he understands the explanation, but he refuses the intervention. Okay, some students, they assume that Aman has the capacity because here bright and able to understand, and refuse. Okay, kalau young and bright meaning has a capacity. Okay, I'm not too strict about that. In that part, I'm not too strict. But whoever who are careful in the discussion, in their answer, who discuss both ways. Okay, whether the Aman is has the capacity or has not, then the student will get really good marks. Okay, but if the student decide to assume that Aman has the capacity, it's okay. And if you decide that Aman doesn't have the capacity, also okay. But I was quite attentive in terms of the discussion. Okay, how do you develop that discussion? Okay. Especially when you talk about Dr. Chua's moral obligation. Okay, because some students, especially when you decide that Aman has capacity and refuse, so technically by legally Dr. Chua has to follow the decision, right? But then some of you forgot to mention about Dr. Chua's moral obligation. What is his moral obligation? Even though legally he has to follow, has to accept Aman's decision, tapi as a medical doctor, there is a moral obligation. What would that be? Okay, counseling, encouragement. So I'll talk about that. And some students, they forgot to mention about the family, about the parents. Okay, because Aman is a young man. Okay, clearly you can bring next of kin of family in your discussion as well. No. Contoh, especially Dr. Chua, because Dr. Chua feels that that Aman will benefit from the amputation. But if if the patient refuses, then doctor can talk to the family. Okay, can talk to the family, to ask the family to encourage the patient. Okay, especially in this case, Aman is a young bright man, maybe his parents or guardian. Okay, who can encourage Aman. And so you can always you don't assume that is the case. You need to talk about the possibility. Okay, if you take that approach, the possibility approach, instead of just straight to the point assumption, then you will get better marks. If you take that the second approach, which is straight to the point assumption, depending if your answer is correct, according to the law, then you will get good marks. If your answer is not correct, okay, and not in line with the law, there's a chance that you don't get I mean, of course, you won't get the best mark, but there's a chance that you won't get a good marks. You know, you get very little mark because the law is wrong, and then you straight away assume that you don't talk about the possibilities. Like straight away you jatuh longkang macam tu. You tak. There's no safe space for you. There's no way that I can help you. Okay, unless you really know the law, that the law says so, you better. In terms of the ethical discussion, you better be more careful. Okay, don't assume that this is the case. Okay. All right. So how do you approach this question? I don't have a specific structure, but all the things that I mentioned just now are very important. Okay, you need to really go through line by line. Okay, they have to go through line by line. So, and then you have to look at in terms of the structure, you can start with the principles first. Okay, with the ethical principles first. Briefly, tak perlu panjang-panjang because again the marks is 20 marks. Okay, you don't have to spend too much time or to write too long. You can start with the principles first. Hear what are the conflicting principles. Okay. And then after that, the next question is, can Aman do that legally? Okay, so you can use that as a structure. Some students, they just talk about the principles, spend 2 pages of principles. Okay, consent lah, apa confidentiality lah, you know. After that, talk about the the requirement of informed consent, what is valid consent, and that's it. I talk about the legal, what Dr. Chua should do. But never respond to the other questions here. Should Dr. Chua leave it to Aman to decide? What is Dr. Chua's moral and legal position? Okay, some students, they do not answer these questions. So I cannot give you full marks or good marks because I can only give you the marks. So because every question here, there's a mark. There's the marks are being distributed between the questions here, the sub questions here. Okay, so you have, if there are sub questions, make sure that you answer all sub questions. Okay, because these are actually these are the guidance for the structure of your answer. Okay. So what you can do, you can talk about the principle of autonomy. Okay, which is how is being applied in medical context is via consent. Okay, which is the tool. All right, to ensure that a tool or a mechanism to ensure that medical doctors respect patients' autonomy. Okay, so how can this autonomy be this principle be respected by medical doctors? Okay. So you talk about the doctrine of informed consent. Okay, what is the requirement? Okay, cakaplah pasal disclose information, making sure that patients are being informed of the situation and the options, and then after that let patients decide. Okay, so you can bring in case law. In that sense, you can bring case law. All right, and then especially talking about how the law has already evolved. Okay, from last time from paternal approach. And now there's a duty of medical doctors to let patients to decide. Okay, so you can talk about, even though this is not medical negligence, but you can talk about some relevant case law in medical negligence cases, but focusing more on the duty to respect patients' decision. Okay. And then you can continue by talking about how, especially now, we don't know whether Aman is is of a majority age or not, right? So it's the requirement of a valid consent. So you talk about valid consent. How Dr. Chua, even though in this case Dr. Aman demonstrate that he understands and he refused, okay, the treatment, but Dr. Chua as a medical doctor still has the legal duty. Okay, it says legal duty to find out whether Aman's consent is actually valid. In this case, it's not consent. In this case, it's like refuse to consent. Okay, whether that decision is valid, whether Aman has the capacity. Okay, so you talk about what is capacity, how to determine whether a patient has capacity or not. Okay, and then you talk about the test, the functional test. What is the other test? Functional and? Do you remember? I can't remember now. But what does it come to my mind? Okay. Even especially when you talk about the requirement of consent, right? The voluntariness. Okay, whether Aman really understands the situation. Okay, whether he made the decision, he can weigh the decision. Okay, is it because he's scared of the of the surgery, or whether he feels ashamed if he lost his leg? All these things needs to be. You can also mention that in your discussion. Okay. All right. Lagi apa? Mental competence. Kita about mental competence as well. Okay. And also, you can talk about the other alternative alternative treatment. Okay, if leg amputation is not agreed by Aman, maybe Dr. Chua in ensuring the best interest of Aman. Okay, what else can Dr. Chua offer? Okay, if you argue that Aman's autonomy needs to prevail, there's no way Dr. Chua can go against Aman's decision, but it doesn't stop there. Okay, Dr. Chua still needs to do the best for Aman. What can be done? Okay, what other treatments can be done? Yeah, so you can bring in the other principles also, right? Principle of beneficence and non-maleficence. Okay. To make sure that there's no harm to Aman. Especially the non-maleficence, so you can apply in different ways. But I think for this particular case, you can apply in a sense where you argue that if Dr. Chua respects Aman's decision, meaning that Dr. Chua respects the autonomy, but at the same time, Dr. Chua also respects Dr. Chua also respects the principle of non-maleficence. Okay, if Dr. Chua be paternalistic about it, and then continue with the decision with his decision to amputate Aman's leg, thinking that it is in the best interest of Aman, but at the same time, it can also cause Aman, mental harm, psychological harm. That is so in that way, Dr. Chua does not respect the principle of non-maleficence, because he's causing psychological harm, not physical harm, but psychological harm to Aman. Okay, so maybe some people they rather die sort of living life as a handicap. Okay, so you have to respect that as well. Okay. Okay. So what else can I add? Maybe I can add here. Should Dr. Chua leave it to Aman to decide? Okay. So here you can talk about Dr. Chua. I think I mentioned just now, right? Involving other people. Okay, involving other people in the maybe family, next of kin, the parents. Some students they don't talk about that. They just, I don't know whether they forgot or they just ignore the question, or maybe they thought they have addressed the question, but that is the reason that why I ask, because he's a young person, young patient. Okay, so in this case, if it's young patient, even an adult, okay, in any situation, even an adult patient, it's always important or a good practice for medical doctor to find out from family member, okay, to encourage, to give counseling. Maybe if it's not emergency, if it's not urgent, then Dr. Chua can refer Aman to to a counselor, for instance. Okay, so you can tease out you can talk about all these possibilities. Okay, because again, Aman is a young person. You can argue that Dr. Chua maybe do not want Aman to lose his life because of the possibility of septic, right? So what can Dr. Chua do? What are the mechanism or measures that Dr. Chua can take to ensure that he does the best for Aman? Okay, so in this case, shouldn't leave it to Aman. Even if you argue that Aman is competent, no way Dr. Chua can go against the decision. But should Dr. Chua leave it to Aman alone? Okay, it doesn't stop there. Dr. Chua can talk to other people, can bring in counselor, can bring in family members, and so on. That is the reason why I asked this question. Okay. All right. In terms of moral obligation, tadi I dah bagi tahu dah. I mentioned that again, as a medical doctor, you have to respect the patient's decision, and also can go extra mile, not just okay, the law says so we just follow the law. You can do other things, okay, as a medical doctor. Counseling, you can link it up together with the second question just now. Okay. And legal obligation, of course. Legal obligation, you can give out this one, you can bring in law. Okay. You can bring in case law to support that, if Aman is a competent patient, Dr. Chua has to respect that decision. Okay. Even after consultation or counseling with the family member punya encouragement, Aman still decides not to undergo the procedure. Dr. Chua needs to respect the decision, needs to, and then you can bring in case law, okay, to support the answer. Especially there's one case, one particular case, RET, adult refusal of treatment 1992. Where it was decided that patients refused treatment even though it can save his life, and then the court decided that because of the wisdom, okay, competency and capacity have competency, because of the wisdom, then can be the decision must be respected, even though many people will feel that the patient should just get the leg amputated. Okay, so it's the legal obligation. I mean the law has, especially common law. Okay, there's a precedent in common law, so that would be the legal obligation lah. All right. All right. Any questions? Do you have anything that you're not clear, or you want to clarify? Are there any points that you include in your answer that you think maybe I did not consider to give marks for that?
Doctor?
Yeah.
Can I ask regarding question 2? It is already
Sure.
stated in the question that Arman is a young and bright man. And then just now you were mentioning that need to tell the parents and all that. Actually, I was a bit confused. Firstly, he is no longer a small boy. And secondly, he is a bright man. Can't he just decide on his behalf? And another thing is...
He can. Yeah, sorry, continue.
And regarding the confidentiality part, right? Since I assume Arman is a young, bright adult, he might not want to, get the parents to know about all the embarrassment that he needs to cut off his leg and stuff. And most importantly, he has the capacity to decide on his own. So I don't see the point. Why should we relate to bringing parents in? Because by telling the parents is another story from getting Arman's consent to tell the parents.
All right. That's a good point, but in reality, in any in medical context, for any surgery, usually family members are involved, right? The next of kin, there is a consent form, Of course, patient will decide. Patient can decide. But in reality, patient don't decide alone. Okay? Family members can get involved. Not all, but the closest. Okay? If you have a wife, if you have a husband, your husband and wife will be consulted as well. Of course, you can make a decision on your own, but you can consult your parents, your partner, your spouse, or even your kids. Okay, and then in this particular, even though patients has autonomy, they have to respect patients' autonomy. Doctor, out of moral obligation, out of moral obligation, doctor doesn't have to legally. Doctors are not obliged to listen to family members. Are not obliged to ask next of kin. Okay, but out of moral obligation, they would do. Doctors would do it. Okay, especially in a situation where patient's decision are considered as does not make any sense. Okay, why would they rather die? First, they rather die rather than living without a leg. Because in reality, it does not make sense. Okay, most people will not be able to comprehend. So it is a good practice for a doctor to encourage patient. How do doctors encourage? Doctor can encourage by themselves first. Okay, doctors can approach patient one-to-one, encourage patient, give motivation, give encouragement, explain what the benefits, what the risks, because sometimes you never know. Sometimes patients are just scared just thinking of, even when my mother was amputated, I thought it was very The idea of getting amputated is so green, you know, like I was like, how do they do it, you know? How long does it take? So doctor will usually explain the process, what happens, what will they do, okay, one first, okay, to explain. Even my late father when he underwent angioplasty or angiogram. They have to do angiogram first, then only they do angioplasty, right? And when they did angioplasty, I was like, how does it do? They say they insert camera inside. I was like, how do they do it? You know, is it painful? So doctor will explain from the hand curve, from the crotch curve, you know, and what happened. They will say you don't really feel it. You can feel like a sensation or like an ant bites, you know. So really, try their best to make sure patients understand the process. Okay, some patients, they just, because of they don't say it, but sometimes they don't agree because they are scared of it, especially taking blood. Sometimes they just too scared of the needles. Okay, especially for the first timer. You know, so doctor have the moral obligation to explain to the patients. Okay, and encourage them. But if they still refuse, okay, medical doctors, medical practitioners, they can talk to family members. Okay, it's a good practice. They are not obliged legally, but they can. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay. Even if it's not a young person, young patient, even if it's an adult patient, like I don't know, orang tua kan, 60 plus, 70, whatever, you know, widow spouse. Maybe not 70 lah, maybe 70 is too old a bit. I mean, some people who are 70, they are not sharp anymore. So in that case, doctors will also get kids, the kids involved, okay, to ensure that the kids understand. Sometimes people with 70 plus, they don't understand what's going on. They can't comprehend. So they will get the children involved, so that the children can advise the parents. And if there's a husband and wife, you know, both will be involved in the discussion. But of course, ultimately, the patient who will decide. But the process to make the decision can get other people involved. Okay, especially if the patient clearly say, "I'm scared of it. I do not want to go for dialysis. I'm scared of dialysis." You know, or I don't want to take insulin. The diabetes is very bad. It's getting worse, but some patients refuse to take the insulin just because they're scared of the needle. Okay, they're just scared of the needle, and they just do not want to take insulin because of that. And and of course, medical doctors some of them, you know, yeah, if they want to kata kerja senang, this okay, up to you. You decide. It's your decision. Okay, but most medical doctors, they will not do that. They will try their best to encourage patients. It's the ethical point of view. It's a better approach. Okay, doctor will encourage, explain, you know, and then explain to the family why insulin is important. If not, is a normal procedure. It's a normal. After a while, for the first few times you feel the needle. After that, you find it normal already. You know, so a lot of people do that. So the conversation should be there to encourage patients. Okay. Any other questions?
So far, okay, Doc.
Okay. Your mark is okay?
Yes, very okay, Doc. Thank you.
Ah, no wonder like you say okay all the time. What about other people? Is there anything that you are unsure? Do you find the questions difficult?
It's not
Probably.
difficult, Doc. It's not difficult. Probably it's a bit twisted. It's not difficult. It's just, I think after you spoke just now, I'm able to pick out the keywords lah. So what I look for, I'm realizing, because certain things like comparison that I have missed out, like when you say competent person, we have competent, incompetent, we have the Gillick child. So how do you do the comparison? I noticed that that's my weakness on my paper. I have the competent, but the comparison was not there. Though we know he might be competent, but we must illustrate what is competent and what is non-competent. At least that will be a better understanding. So I think these are the areas that I understand that probably I could have done better.
Right. Okay. That's good. Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, some people they bring in Gillick competency. That's good. Okay, I give marks for that as well. Especially when you discuss the possibility that maybe Aman is not competent, don't have the competency. Sorry, Aman is not of a majority age, because the question says he's young, right? He's young and bright. It can mean that he is not he has not reached the consenting age, not of a majority age yet. But because he's a bright man, so even though he's not yet 18 years old, but there is a legal precedence where young children can make decision if they have the capacity, if they have the comprehension, right? Able to comprehend the situation and understand the situation, the conditions, So Gillick competency can be applied. So you can bring in Gillick case. What is the principles in Gillick case? So yeah, I forgot to mention that.
I think one of the challenges we face is because, our mind is trained for law, and then it's like application of the law. So when we incorporate ethical principles, moral principles, that's where we are a little bit with the connection part. So probably we need to brush up on that.
Yeah. But to be honest with you, there is no even now, if I try to explain to you what is the best answer for this question, I can't tell. Okay, I can't tell. Even when I mark your paper, the student's paper, different people have different structure, and I cannot tell which one is the best structure. Okay, but what I can tell is how you make sense. Okay, how do you argue? What is your argument? And whether the argument is clear, and how do you make the argument clear? But how do you support and how do you substantiate your argument? Okay, how do you apply? By applying the principles, by applying the case law to support the principles. But I think the basic approach is, what is the principle? Whether this principle is important, should be upheld or promoted. What is the law? Okay, or you can say, or if you are more prone to, argue the law first, this is what the law says. Okay, why do you think so? For example, you say that Aman is a young and bright man. Why? And then according to the law, assuming that Aman is of not a majority age, Aman, because of he is bright, the law says, according to the law, Aman still can make a decision. Why? Okay. Why? How? What is the law? Okay, you can bring in Gillick competence on your case. Okay, and why is that? why is that? Why the law is decided that way? Okay, katalah because it's to uphold, okay, Aman's autonomous power, because even though he is young, he's not yet reached consenting age, but he is he has the ability to understand, and then it's that the law respects, I think, principle of autonomy. Okay, so you see, if either or, there can be two different ways also. It's not a problem as long as your argument clear, like you made it clear. You make it clear, you make it understandable, and that you make sense. Okay.
Thank you, Doc. So when we're looking at the final exam, we should look from this perspective when we answer it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Especially when the question asks you to be critical. Okay, be critical. So it's a safe approach if you bring the principles together with the law. Okay, and see and and use this to substantiate or support your argument. As long as the argument is correct, if the argument is wrong, there's no point.
Okay, thank you.
Doc, just to clarify, I noticed that certain past year questions, they just ask for law principles. That's it. They say legally advised. So do we also need to put in ethics when we also advise them legally? Do you have to look at from that ethics angle also? Though this question does not require us to talk about ethics explicitly.
Yeah, but it's best to include ethics as well. If you argue the law, okay, even if you read the judgment, if you read the judgment, there's always the ethics in your argument, even though it doesn't really mention which principle, right? But the ethical argument is there to respect patients, ability to make a decision. That's autonomy, lah. So if you do that, it's easier for you to get better marks. Okay, especially if your legal argument is not really strong. Unless your legal argument is very strong, that is not a problem. Yeah, I'm not very strict about that. But it depends on the clarity of your argument, lah.
So, Doc, if our legal argument is strong, but then we just insert one or two ethical portions. That's fine, yeah?
Fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but usually when I drop the questions, if I want you to talk about the ethical, I want you to focus on the ethics of ethics principles. I will make sure that you mention the ethics principles. For example, like this question 1, it's actually only ethics principles, but you can bring in legal perspective, legal case law. Okay, that's will make it stronger, lah. Okay, but the basic is ethical. Your answer must be strong in ethical principles. Like in this case, your answer must be really strong in the law, in the legal principles. What if consent, the flag jacket, that one must be mentioned here. Okay, must be really strong here. And then after that, you can bring in the principles, to support. Okay.
Doctor?
Yeah.
For example, in the first question, the question asks only for ethical principles, right? Can I write an answer without regards to any law at all? Just the ethics, the principles, and the arguments to support the principles.
You can, but must be very, very strong. Okay. But in this case, we can't run away from. I mean, in this case law is not really required. Okay. But you need to talk about the law because of this authority, right? you know, what you have learned in the class, if you look at the lecture, it does talk about the exceptions. The exceptions are to breach the duty of confidentiality, where in this case is the law. There's a legal requirement for the doctor to disclose. So you have to talk about the law lah. Katalah the Infectious Disease Act, okay? You know, require doctor to disclose. There's a legal, doctor is legally bound, okay, to disclose, to inform the authority, and for the patients themselves to make sure that they do not put other people at the risky situation because of their condition, medical condition. Okay, they themselves need to report. So yeah, you can bring in legal perspective, but not necessarily legal case law in the question number 1.
Okay. Got it. Thanks, Doctor.
Okay.
Doctor?
Yes.
In case we don't have enough time to go through the ulang kaji, can I request that later could you just share with us what to focus? Because we are handling so many subjects. I really appreciate if you could narrow down for us and other things.
We'll do that later. But for now, that one we'll talk about the exam. But now let's focus on the test first, on the answer for the test first.
Okay, noted.
Later I will talk about the exam question. Okay. Okay. Do you have anything else for the test before we move on to the exam? We have quite plenty of time, yeah. So ask me anything. Lagi apa? Let me check. Okay. And please don't assume, especially in the scenario cases, don't assume. Okay, avoid assumption. Some students even assume that Dr. Chua, they argue that Aman should inform the authority. If not, Aman will not get treatment. Is that wrong? Okay, that's wrong. You still can get treatment without, you know, informing authority. Okay, I mean you yourself don't have to worry about informing the authority. You will get treatment the moment you enter a clinic or hospital. If the patient has HIV, they have to get treatment. They will be given treatment. If they don't get treatment, then doctor will be liable under the standard of care, duty of care. Right? So don't assume to that extent. Some people will assume that if Aman doesn't disclose to the authority, argue that Aman should allow Dr. Chua to do what he thinks should be done, because he's the expert, he's the medical doctor, he has the skill, and he has the skill in treating HIV. How do you know that Dr. Chua is infectious diseases expert? He could be just any general GP in the clinic, any hospital, just maybe a houseman. Okay, nama je Dr. Chua, maybe he's just a houseman. We don't even know. So don't assume that Dr. Chua is an expert in treating HIV. That is not important in this case. Don't bring in facts which are not mentioned in the question. Okay, so avoid assumption. That is a dangerous approach. Okay, because once you assume, then you will be guided by the assumption in answering your question, and your answer might be wrong. So sampai habis salah. Okay, if you take my advice where you talk about the possibilities. You discuss the possibilities. Okay. In this situation, this is what Dr. Chua should do. In this situation, this is what Dr. Chua should do. So you have better chance in getting good marks. Okay. First, because you demonstrate your critical analysis. Okay. And second, it's safer that way, because if the first option is salah, you have another option. Okay. If you assume and it's wrong, then there's no way I can help you with the marks. Okay. You faham tak? Does it make sense?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Okay, whatever it is, read the questions properly, line by line. Don't read at one go and then assume you understand everything. Okay, read line by line. Really, really understand what the word says, what the sentence is. Okay, and then after that, you quickly jot down what are the relevant ethical principles. Even though the question doesn't ask you about the ethical principles, but still, what are the relevant ethical principles, so that you can help, you can bring in your discussion and you can just, add here and there to support your argument, make it critical. Okay, and what is the legal issues? If you remember the case law, straight away what the case law. If you remember the provisions, the statute, which statute, straight away you jot down. Okay, spend some time to prepare before you answer the question. Okay, and think of the relevant and suitable case law. And don't simply mention the case law, but you don't apply. And then and then you explain the case law, what happened in the case law, the facts, the decision, but it's not relevant. Okay, so you wasted time there. No actual law. Well, okay, I think that is all my comments. Comments on the common mistakes that I've found in your answer for this test. Okay, so please avoid these mistakes for your exam. Okay, if there is no other questions, do you want to move on to exam? Adobe.
Okay, Doc.
Sure. Okay.
Proceed, Doc.
Okay, I will stop sharing. I don't want to show you the exam questions.
Boleh juga, Doc.
It's okay. It's okay if you
Kalau
accidentally, Doc. Accidentally, it's okay.
Intention is very important, Doc. So you have no intention.
Yeah, but I've already realized it, so it won't be unintentional. Okay, let me find the exam question. Is the officer on duty tonight? Apa di sana? Which officer? Don't know whether the officer is online or not. Is it raining?
Not here.
What wasn't raining?
Are you in KL, Doc, or Selangor?
I'm in KL.
Not sure.
Selangor
Selangor is not.
Today long day lah, Doc. Can finish class a bit earlier. I feel bad for saying this though.
I don't mind, but you guys pay for this class, so I go with the majority.
Never mind, we see how it goes first lah, Doc.
Okay, as long as we cover the what we need to cover lah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, give me a second. I need to open my email. I want to make sure that I pull out the right version. Like Oke, pindaan peta soalan. Pindaan peta soalan. Betulkan. Oke, edited. Turn this on. The password. All right. Oh. Betul lah, you cannot see, yeah? I've already stopped sharing, yeah? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so there will be there will be how many questions? 6 questions. And you have to answer 3. Okay, please remember. Okay, please mention to your friends. I think I will. If I remember during the exam, I will mention it again. Question number 1 is compulsory. Okay, that is a compulsory question, and then there are other questions you have to choose 2. Last year, there were students who do not answer the compulsory question because they thought they can just choose 3 from any other questions. I cannot accept that. I cannot help. Okay, because it's not fair for other students because they have to answer the compulsory question. That is they ask whether I can just accept the 3 questions. It's not fair, okay, for other students who answer the compulsory questions. Okay, because the difficulty level is differs from one question to another. Okay, and compulsory questions is usually the expectation. Okay, the expectation in terms of the robustness of your answer is higher. That's why I make it compulsory. Okay. But the rest too, other questions too, maybe I can be more lenient. All right. So remember that. Don't forget, yeah. Question number 1 is a must. Okay. What is the topic for compulsory question? Of course, I mentioned that again and again in the exam. What is in the class? What would that be? Can you take it?
Negligence.
Yeah, negligence. Okay. Why negligence is a compulsory question? Because that is the most established medical law, area medical law in Malaysia. Okay, so I want you when you complete this course, this program, at least what you can master. Okay, you have a good knowledge, good understanding about medical negligence in Malaysia. Okay, at least you should remember this topic. The rest too maybe not really well established in Malaysia, but this is very important. Okay, even if you want to, contoh, if some of you decide to practice law, okay, so if you decide to practice in medical law, you need to understand this is the basic of medical law. Okay, this is what you will practice, medical negligence. Okay, so it's very important to understand that. Okay. So for medical negligence, what you need to do is to please revise it properly. Read the case law, okay? UK case law, Australia, and also Malaysian case law. Very, very important. Understand the legal principles. Understand why our federal court decides a certain way and not following, some legal principles. Really understand the use of the legal principles, okay? And then the changes in adopting the legal principles, changes in terms of the court's position towards the legal principles. You need to understand that, okay? So yeah, so when you explain your answer, you must explain the case law and the relevance of the case law. Okay. And of course, you can be critical in your answer. Maybe you can give your own opinion as to what you think about that legal principles in that particular case law. And what about the other case law? What do you think? You know, which one is makes more sense? Which one is more logical? Which one is more reasonable? Okay. So that is that is for the compulsory question. Okay. Right. Other topics we talk about. Remember, other topics are topics that I've covered in the class, of course. Which one is this? Okay. Abortion. Okay.
Sorry, Doc. Just a question.
Yeah.
So what we should be doing? We have a question on negligence. So we should have those established case laws from UK and also the local decided cases by the federal court where it's applicable, and then only we approach the question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also Australia case as well. Don't forget.
Yeah. Yes, the Australian cases too.
Okay.
Thank you, Doc.
You're welcome. Basically, we have covered that in the class. Okay, we have covered in the class that you need to show your understanding. Okay, but don't regurgitate the answer. I know you'll be busy writing down contoh-contoh on your statutes, on the guidelines, printed copy of guidelines, but you will not get a really good mark if you just muntah balik, like explain. You know, you really need to be critical in your answer. Okay.
Noted, Doc. Thanks.
Okay, you have been okay. Sorry, I was about to read the question. Okay, other topics. The first one is abortion. Remember our discussion in the class on abortion. Okay, especially understanding what is the law in our country, the logic behind it, and whether you agree or not with the law. And I think, and of course, I will ask you to compare with other countries as well. Okay. And then,
sorry, Doc. How intensive you want us to compare with other jurisdictions, like in this abortion?
How extensive, yeah. Okay, well, in any topic, okay, which when you are asked for comparison, to do comparison, of course you need to. Okay, I wouldn't expect you to remember the exact provision. Okay, you don't have to give me the verbatim, word to word provision or statutory provisions from other countries. You don't need to do that. Don't get scared if you suddenly, alamak, I don't bring Indian Penal Code, for instance, or Indian abortion law. Okay, for instance, you don't have to worry about that. You just remember what does the law say. Okay, the essence of the law. Okay, for example, the exemptions. The exemptions are given by the law. Okay, so you compare that in Malaysia. Same with Indonesia as well. Okay, compare with other countries' approach. Okay, and then you discuss, you evaluate the law. Okay, in terms of you can bring in ethical perspectives as well. Okay, whether the law is ethical or not, something like that. Okay, so yeah, there's abortion and then euthanasia, and then after that there is
Sorry, doctor. Just now you said abortion and euthanasia, they are in the same question or
no, separate. And these are the topics. These are the topics that I will that's covered in the exam. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then there's what on medical research. Not medical research. I think.
When life begins, Doc.
Yeah, on that. Tapi if we focus more on the embryos lah, on the embryos. It's more philosophical. Okay. Okay, that one. Okay, and then I think there are two. Okay, one question on confidential. This one you should be able to score because you already covered in the test. Okay. I hope you will answer this question because you should be able to score this question. It's on confidence. Is this the way I ask is slightly different, but essentially the G's, okay, the content are quite the same. Okay, it's just how you argue it is depends on the question how you argue it. But the G's is the same. And then there is another which is also a scenario question. Okay, the confidence is also based on a scenario. And then just like your test, which is a scenario-based question. And then another one is also a scenario. Yeah, similar to your on consent. Okay, similar to your test as well. Okay, I'm so kind.
Okay.
And we appreciate you for that, Doc.
Yeah, lah. Why I'm so kind? Huh?
This is why you're our favorite.
Oh my God.
Lecturer line, we tak layan, we layan you.
Yeah.
Other lecturer, we got a one-way communication. We just listen without asking. Other lectures, we only have a one-way communication. Yeah, they basically kind of like don't entertain or probably not their style. So we just take down notes and go back home.
Oh no, I don't like one-way communication. I find it boring. Okay, another one is on consent. Yeah, so it's quite similar to your test. So make sure that you revise your test properly. I mean, based on the apa nama. I hope the notes that I give the explanation that I gave you earlier would be helpful for you to improve. If you do not get good marks in your test, okay, I hope that can help you to improve your understanding on how you should approach the question. Okay, so similarly in the exam, also the question is a scenario-based questions on consent. Okay. So yeah. Okay, for the statute, I think I will add one more. tomorrow I will meet the officer at Vitruvius and finalize the instruction. Okay, because I think the instruction must be clearer. So at the moment, you have been informed, right? What are the statute you can bring in?
Yes, Doc. Yeah.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. I think I will revise it. I will allow you to bring in another guidelines, which is required for this exam. It wasn't required before. Yeah, I think for this one it's required lah. Guidelines on the Malaysian national guidelines on Malaysian stem cell research and therapy. But it's not really important for you to have the guidelines with you, because you don't really need to refer to the guidelines as long as you understand. Good job. As long as you understand the basics that we have covered in the class when we talk about the life, when life begins. Okay, we talk about the embryos. Remember, I explained to you about the embryos development, when people the different views on when life begins at different stage of embryo development, right? And then where can be used for research purposes, you know. So yeah. Right. So the question is based on, I choose the topic based on the topic that I think we had a lively discussion, I think we had a good discussion on the topics during the lectures. Okay, so I chose those topics that I thought very interesting for your exam. Of course, there are 6. I don't know whether you're gonna cover all 6 whether you will cover all 6 in your revision, given that 2 questions are quite similar to your test. All right. Any questions?
Doctor, I got a question. Regarding your questions, right? Abortions, euthanasia, embryo, when life begins, confidentiality, and the one which is similar to the test, consent, they are not mixing one another, right? They are all individual questions. Can I say so?
Yeah, the individual questions. There are 6 questions total. So 1 question, 1 topic. I mean, 1 topic, 1 question.
And regarding the scenario questions, right, there will be only 2, which are confidentiality and consent. Then the rest will be, I assume, will be open-ended questions.
Yeah, like evaluate. You have to critically evaluate. You know, no. I had 3. There are 3 scenario. 3 scenario. No, hold on. Is it a scenario? Not really a scenario. 2 scenario. One is like a scenario, tapi basically macam you've been asked to give your opinion, which is more like a evaluation lah. Yeah, I think only 2 scenario.
Which are confidentiality and consent. Am I right?
Yeah.
What about negligence? It will be an open-ended one.
Yeah, negligence is open. Is a statement. You have to discuss the statement. Okay. if you look at the past questions for negligence, right, they ask you, the questions ask students to analyze to explain the development of the standard of care. Did you look at the questions, the past questions? You haven't.
Went through, Doc, but I think consent we have come across, but negligence so far 2022 and 2021 tak ada.
2022, 2021 tak ada. Tak ada. I thought it's every year I ask the question. Last, you didn't get you didn't have the
2022 question 6 is duty of care negligence.
Sorry?
2022.
Yeah, sorry. 22 question 6.
You have a negligence question.
Yeah, correct. Sorry.
What does it say?
And then on 2023, it comes out as the question number 1. That means last
Box
year.
3, right?
One, yeah.
Yeah. They asked about development, kan? Development of standard of care.
So Doc, if it's asking about development of standard of care, right? That means it's referring to all 3, right? Not just the duty of care only, right? So it looks at we have to discuss duty and then
no.
breach. No.
No. Okay. Good that you pointed that out. Last year, what the problem because the mistakes, common mistake that students did last year, they focused too much on duty of care. Okay, when you talk about standard of care, you must remember it refers to the negligence. Standard of care in terms of negligence, they look at the what is the standard of care? It refers to the duty to diagnose, duty to treatment, and duty to provide to give advice. These are the standard of care that it refers to. Okay, not the duty of not to establish negligence. Okay, if the question asks you to find out whether there is usually if I want you to talk about the duty of care and then the breach of duty of care and if there's a causation, that one will be a scenario based question. Okay, this is what happened, blah 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 blah. Evaluate whether the doctor is negligent in his conduct. Then you can talk about. First, we need to establish whether there's a duty of care, and second, whether there's a breach of duty of care. When the question talk about standard of care expected of medical practitioners, you just focus on the legal principles. Okay, in terms of deciding whether doctor has fulfilled the duty to diagnosis, duty to treatment, and duty to inform. Okay? So that's what it means by standard of care.
Okay. Then his competence level?
Competence level?
In his standard of care?
Competence level, yeah, you can. You can talk about competence level, especially when you discuss about the duty to inform. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means that we don't go from duty of care and then go breach and then, but we do look at every angle also, right? From the duty of care, and then whether there's a breach or not. Because if you talk about, for example, duty to inform, then we can see that if they fail to inform, it is a breach of that duty, right?
Yeah, you can mention that, but don't focus on the 3 steps: duty of care, duty of apa?
That means we don't
breach of
use the
duty.
Capero test, like the.
No. Don't use Capero test. Okay. To answer that question just now, when if the
what's the standard of care?
Tak payah. Okay.
Then I'm a bit lost, Doc.
Yeah. No. If the question asks you,
okay,
to determine whether the lecturer pula, if the doctors is negligent, if there is a case scenario, okay, if the doctor is negligent, then you need to
go through all 3,
use
right?
Capero test.
Yes.
Go through all 3. Okay. But if the question asks you about the development of the standard of care, then you talk about the cases lah, the landmark cases, Bolam test, and talk about how that we don't that we changed to Bolito, and then we changed and then the reason why the court changed its position towards the legal principles established in Bolam up to Roger Whittaker's, and then and Zul Hastima and so on. Okay.
I got it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, that was a common mistake because students thought, just talk about duty of care, duty of breach of duty. It's different. That one's more for scenario based question. Okay.
Doctor, the same standard of care will be tested this time?
Sorry?
Will the standard of care will be tested this time, this year?
That one I cannot tell.
Okay.
And that one is too specific, but all the way already narrowed down. Okay. It shouldn't be a problem. The Capero test is very easy. You should know by now the Capero test. So if the questions ask you to apply the Capero test, then it's simple as that. You don't need to worry about that as long as you understand what's the requirement, and then what are the case law. Okay, decided case law that are relevant to each requirement. And then if the ask you about the standard of care, you already know. Okay, these are the Bolam tests, Bolito, all the argument by Lord Scarman lah, and then Roger Whittaker, okay, Montgomery, Sidney, all these cases. So I will advise you to read the case law. Okay, read the case law, spend some time, maybe one day, go through the case law, understand the legal principles. Okay, maybe read the case summary first so that you understand what is the case all about, and then you go to the case law. Okay. If you don't read the case law, you wouldn't be. If you don't read the case law, your answer will be very brief, just like my lecture notes. Okay, lecture note is a brief, is a summary of the case law. But if you read the case law, you will be able to give more perspectives if you understand. You can elaborate more. If you just read the lecture note and then hafal, and then you tulis balik, you cannot really elaborate, okay? Because in case law, there are a lot of other things, okay, that you can pick up and be creative and be more critical in your answer. Can help you. Really, actually, very very useful. Okay, if you read case law, you cannot run away from reading case law if you learn law. I know it's long. It's a few pages for each case, but it's very important. Okay, maybe you can start with the latest case, because every latest case they refer to the precedents, which is they highlight the heart of the previous cases. Okay, so that will help you, and then after that you go back one by one if you want to know more, right? And go back. It's not clear what happened in that case. What actually happened? What are you go back to the previous case one by one. But usually, I will do that way. Usually, that's my approach. I will read the latest case, so the latest case will cover everything, all the legal principles before. Okay.
Doc, just to clarify, so when we are talking about the standard of care or the development of it, what we may have to focus is more on the principle rather than any of the facts of the case. So we just go in and look at.
No. You have to explain the facts also. You cannot talk about the principles only without the facts.
Oh, well, that will be like quite a lengthy. Like Phu Phi Na is like a whole storyline.
Yeah, but you don't have to explain everything, the facts. You just highlight the important facts.
Okay. So you just take it as a summary of those case law.
Yeah.
Then argue from there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just like when you read a case law, for example, when you read Phu Phi Na case law, it talks about the facts in Bolam, kan? Why the court in Phu Phi Na, why the federal court in Phu Phi Na decided not to follow Bolam, because in their decision, decision, they explain why they partially depart from Bolam. They highlight some of the facts, the difference between the facts in Phu Phi Na and Bolam, betul tak?
Yes.
One of the things is that the risk in Bolam is the risk in Phu Phi Na is more material compared to the risk. No, the risk in Bolam is far too remote compared to the risk in Phu Phi Na, right?
Phu Phi Na, yeah.
And then Phu Phi Na is a young, bright lady. Bolam is a mental patient, kan? So maybe during that time, during Bolam time, so it was acceptable, for doctors not to inform. It's okay to have the standard of care where doctors do not inform what happened, the risk to the mental patient. But in this time, maybe it's no longer an acceptable approach, especially if the patient is a young, bright person who has no mental health issues. There is no so that fact is very important, to highlight.
So likewise, we just have to do a comparison of Bolam, Bolito in that sort of approach. Okay. Thank you.
Also in Roger Whittaker's case as well, she was not informed. Why was the facts? Because she never asked. She never asked about the risk that will happen in the other eye. So the facts are still important. All right. Are there any other questions? I think I've revealed enough.
Doctor, I have a question on the. I think you mentioned about the euthanasia and abortion topic. So, if you're looking for, how are we expected to answer the question? So, we put in the principles, the case laws, and then our opinions, or like how do we go about it? At least generally, like what sort of marks are you looking from us?
More like a comparison between the approach. basically you must what does the law say? Basically the what does the law say and what do you think about the law? Okay. Yeah. Euthanasia tak ada case. We don't have case for euthanasia. There's no case law. We didn't cover case law, right, in our class for euthanasia.
No, Doc, we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. But for abortion, but we didn't discuss. You have to read. I asked you to read on your own for abortion.
So, Doc, for the euthanasia, we have arguments against and for. So that's what we will be more on focus on the pragmatic arguments. Who is against all that lah? Okay.
Yeah.
No, we have euthanasia case laws. A few.
Do we have?
Yeah, we got
Not
R. Nicholson versus Ministry of Justice.
But not in Malaysia.
Not in Malaysia, not MLJ,
Yeah.
CLJ.
Yeah. Yeah, you can talk about the issues. I mean the case law in other countries.
So doctor, I mean, I think for basic questions, we usually would have to identify the issue, the ethics principles that are related, and then the case law, and then we build our argument based on those trees, right? So I think for euthanasia, I mean, are we expected to write more on the ethics or on the case law arguments, or do we? Let's say we're desperate, we know only, I think we can only confirm one or two ethics principles. Maybe we know more about the case law, so I think, or do we have to have more, we have to have more on both of it?
It's good to have a few ethics, discussion on ethics principles, okay? And then and we talk about the law, okay? Or you talk about the law, what does the law say, whether you agree or not, and then you bring in ethics principles in your argument. Maybe it's easier to do that way, okay? This is what the law says. Do you agree with the law or not? And then how do you argue? How do you substantiate your argument? Okay.
Another question. So basically, when we're answering the questions, what sort of things should we not include into our answer scheme? I mean, I think like for the principal ethicals, I think for me it's quite a hit or miss. Either I understand the question, and then I maybe be able to identify some of the ethical principles. So I think maybe one or two of it is a miss. So I think do we have marks for that, or actually, or how?
It depends on the questions, you know. I think if the questions ask you to evaluate the law and then evaluate the law, then you can focus on the law, and then you bring in ethics to support your argument, okay? But if the question asks you to focus on the ethical principles, then you can bring in the law to support your argument. You focus on ethical argument, analysis on the ethical principles, focus on that, and then you bring in the law. Okay? Yeah. So if the question asks you law and ethical analysis, then it goes together. Okay? The focus must be on both. I have no exact approach to this, actually. I never thought about, for this question, there's the number of. I think that there are different principles you can talk about, right? There's no specific principles, how many principles, but of course there must be enough, not just one or two. And then that's it. And then just 1 2 paragraph, and that's it done. If you want to, if you do not want to have so many principles, then you have to have an in-depth analysis on maybe 2 principles, for example. You just want to focus, and you make it clear. In this particular question, in this particular scenario, question, you can say that these are the ethical principles that may be relevant. Why? You can go one by one quickly. Just maybe just touch on it briefly, and then you say that, but you will focus on 2 or 3 ethical principles, for instance. Excuse me. Right, and then you have an in-depth discussion, analysis on these few ethical principles that you decide to focus on. That is fine. Okay. Especially when you say that you don't have enough time, so at least you show that there are other principles that are relevant, but you just want to focus on a number of ethical principles. That is fine. You can do that also.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that, as long as your answer is robust, then it's okay. You have to worry about the number of principles, the number of law or legal arguments. As long as you capture your understanding of the law, what does the law say about euthanasia? Okay, as long as you capture that whole approach to the legal approach to euthanasia, it should be okay. It should be fine. Tak perlu risau you miss something ke apa ke. Okay. Contoh kalau macam you talk about contoh informed consent. How informed consent? Or how do you determine informed consent is valid? As long as you capture the requirements, okay, comprehend capacity, ability to understand, weigh the different options, and then voluntariness. Okay, as long as you cover all that, is enough.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
All right.
Doc, one question, right? The guidelines that we're allowed to bring in, right? For example, let's say the MMC guidelines. Are we allowed to also conteng on it? Because
I think you're allowed, kan?
Allowed, right?
Yeah, I think you're allowed. Yeah.
Because on the statutes you are allowed, so the guidelines also allowed.
Yeah, it should be the same.
Thank you.
So don't take as much as you want.
Okay.
Don't think on the actual printed wordings. Nanti tak nampak pula. What does the law say?
You see, Doc, when you say you conteng as much as you want now, I'm worried, because the question is going to be very difficult. Whatever conteng also,
I was teasing. I was just teasing you all just now. Conteng as much as you want. Okay, anything else?
No, not from me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, Doc.
No, Doc.
Doctor, if I may ask another question. So let's say if
Isaac, so many questions, in class you don't ask any question?
Because I just saw my marks, so it's quite depressing. So I need to it's a bit depressing. So okay, so I think like for my question 1, I only have one case law actually. So I think the others was I laid out the ethical principles and I discussed on. So I think let's say if I were to point out about this principle of beneficence is this. Do I have to explain what beneficence is, or do we get marked for that, or do we just the principle involved is beneficence? So it it relates to
Oh no, you have
directly
to
to the case.
explain what beneficence is. You have to explain it.
Okay, I get it. Okay.
As I said just now, in question 1, you don't need to have case law. You are not obligatory, you know. It's more of a discussion of the ethical principles and how do you apply. Okay. The intention of question 1, when I decided to ask that question, is to test on your understanding of the principles and how you apply the principles. Unfortunately, some students, they don't apply. Some of you, they don't apply the principles. You explain what the principles are, but you don't apply in the scenario. You need to apply in the scenario. You get the marks for explaining what the principles are, but no marks given. I mean, I cannot give more marks than that because there's no application. You don't address the question. You have to address the questions. Okay.
I see. Okay, Doc. Another question. Can I get my?
Is that what happened in your paper?
Sorry.
Is that what happened in your paper?
I only got So I only got 24. So can I get the? Is it possible to get the marks for each question? So at least I know which part I messed up or like.
Oh, 24.
Totally
meaning each question you get belas lah. Maybe 11 there, 12 here. You know.
I see.
Yeah.
So I'm still confused about which part of my answer actually got marks and which part total should be removed. Okay. I think I get it.
I mean, you can you can, if you want. Okay, if you want to meet me, you can meet me. Okay, you can talk about, because it's actually penilaian berterusan. By right, we have to let you know what is the problem with your paper, right? So I'm okay to meet with you if you want to meet me.
Sabah, Doc.
Sorry?
Isaac in Sabah.
Isaac in Sabah. We can do online session.
Yeah, so far away.
We can do online session.
I'm willing to. If can, I mean, like.
Yeah. You can email me separately. We can meet up. Okay. If there are other students who want to meet also, you can meet, no problem. I don't charge.
Okay, Doctor. Can I text you? I mean, your number's in the group, right? Is it okay, or do I email you directly? Okay.
Yeah, you can text me or email me. It's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Any other questions? If you don't have, I think I've already given you apa nama, more than what you need. I think you should be able to just do right when you do your revision. Don't memorize, okay? Don't just memorize. You need to understand the principles. What does the principle say? What does the law say? Okay? You need to understand. You need to understand that, okay? And you need to, even for the principles as well. You need to understand how to apply the principles in different ways. Okay? So just now when I talk about the principle of dignity, how do I apply the dignity in different argument? Okay. So if you can demonstrate that, definitely you will get good marks. Okay, it shows that you're critical in the analysis. You're not just like consent for treatment only. Okay, when we talk about consent, principle of autonomy, how do you apply the autonomy in confidential issue? We don't talk about autonomy only for treatment. Autonomy can also be applied on confidential. Okay. Autonomy can also be applied in other scenarios. Okay, so you need to be able to apply the principles. Be more creative. Okay, so I say there is no right or wrong answer. Of course, there are wrong and right answer, but but not in terms of the application of the principles. Okay, principles to me is quite fluid. You can always like argue in different ways. That's why in ethics, it involves a lengthy discussion. Okay, there's no like this is what the ethics says. No. Unlike law is just straightforward. This is what the law says. That's it. The law says you can report. Tapi, but it's boring lah. That's why we always incorporate ethics so that to see whether the law makes sense or not, the law is ethical or not, the law is logical or not. Okay. So yeah, that'll be my advice. Okay, understand the case law, understand the principles. Don't just memorize. If you memorize, then you end up giving answer which are very descriptive. If you give descriptive answer, the answer is correct. You will get marks. You get good marks, but you don't get excellent marks. Okay, because when I look at when we lecturers we look at the standard among the students. Okay, if the highest standard is like that and we give that marks, it's like that a match. So the rest of students who do not provide the same standard of answer will not get that marks. That will be the benchmark. Okay, so your answer will be lower and lower and lower. So that's even though you have a marking scheme, but if we find a student whose correct answers is may not meet the marking scheme, but it makes sense, and if the judgment, the criticalness is there, very robust answer, we still accept. Okay, and we use that as a benchmark. So if you want to have a distinction mark, you need to be critical. That is all I can say. If you just muntah balik, you make sure that you cover all the basics, you will get good marks, but it's not excellent marks lah. Okay, someone who be critical will get that excellent marks. That's why you'll be wondering why I don't get full marks. Because I already mentioned all the basic stuff. Okay, all the things that you quite already mentioned. Yeah, you have mentioned it, so you get marks for that, but you don't get excellent mark because you're not critical enough. The question is always critically analyze, critically evaluate. Okay, discuss. Bukan muntah balik. So that's the difference. Okay. All right.
Should let you rest.
Okay. If there is nothing else, we can stop here. Do you all agree? I mean, you guys pay for the class. I don't mind.
Yep.
Okay, Doc.
Of course.
Yes, Doc.
Have your rest.
We didn't even stop. We continued only from 8.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't have a break. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have my lunch.
Lunch?
Sorry, lunch. Dinner.
I drink lots of warm water, Doc.
Yeah, I'm drinking a lot of water. I have a hot water here as well.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, see you on the exam date, Doc. Thanks so much.
See you on exam day. See you in person finally. Yeah.
See you, Doc.
All
Thank
right
you
then.
so much.
All the best.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thanks so much, Doctor.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Speedy recovery.
This is just a one-day thing. My sinus is always off and on. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Have a good
Thank you,
rest.
Doc. Bye. Good night. Bye, Doctor. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye. Good night. Thank you.